Here reporting live with Daily Planet. Conti, you've seen Superman yesterday,
Yep.
pre-release date, 10:30 p.m. IMAX screening. I have only one question for you.
Yes.
Was it good?
Well, that's a good question, Clown Kite. I'll say this. It was excellent. It was great. It was great. Like, there's no way around it. It was a great movie. Obviously a movie with a lot of controversy because a certain part of the fandom can't let go of the past, but it is what it is. We'll be able to discuss that. But on a personal level, I absolutely enjoyed it. It met, I'd say, almost every single one of my expectations. If it exceeded it, we'll have to see, but it definitely met it. And I think it was an excellent movie for both even Superman fans and non-Superman fans. So it's definitely a recommended must watch, Superman fan or not. So yes, it's a great movie.
Your favorite part?
My favorite part. It's very tough to choose because it's so fresh in memory in the sense I have to be the fanboy and I have to go rewatch it a billion times. But if I were to go on top of my head, honestly, my favorite part, it's like a two-way tie. I definitely loved the part where Lex Luthor and his group busted through the Palace of Solitude. You know what I mean? So that was really great. They just busted through. I love Engineer. Like she's a very much unknown, like lesser known character. She's a recent character in the DCU, in the DC universe. So I'm happy that she got some shine and she did it phenomenally. So I love that fight scene when they broke in and everything. But secondly, I really love the end where Superman was fighting Ultraman and he finally defeats him and he stands in the light and you just see him there like looking over, and it was pure aura, and it was very reminiscent of my favorite Superman movie, which is Superman Returns. You know what I mean? So I'd say those two are my favorite moments. For now, I do have to go revisit it. So maybe in a couple more videos it'll be a different answer. But for now, I'll say those two.
What's our estimate on the rewatch?
So there's a definite rewatch Saturday. So that's a second rewatch. And I think I'll probably do a rewatch the weekend after that. So by minimum, 2 more rewatches. So a total of 3 watches. And then, of course, when it comes out digitally, that'll be a whole different question,
That's entirely different questions.
Of course.
What are we thinking about the fight scenes?
So look, the fight scenes were exceptional, right? In general, I'd say they were they were amazing. I did have some particular, how would I say, aspects or elements that, not that I didn't like, it's just it wouldn't be my cup of tea for this movie, right? James Gunn is obviously a genius at what he does. He's filmed so many Marvel movies. He knows what he's doing. However, I would say that one aspect that I perhaps didn't like too much from the fight scenes is that, the camera movement sort of didn't allow us to follow everything that was going on in the fight. I think one of the standout scenes is when Mr. Terrific comes in with Lois Lane at the military base. It was extremely well executed. However, like the fact that we couldn't really follow Mr. Terrific everywhere wasn't really to my liking. However, I'm not saying that it was a bad scene because it was a clear creative decision, and I'm just saying that the creative decision perhaps wasn't my favorite. However, if I were to highlight one crazy moment of the fight is after Superman beats Ultraman and he gets swarmed by the Raptors, by Lex Luthor's army, and he just does that turnaround with the laser, like the heat vision and everything, and it was just epic. So I'd say like in total, the fight scenes were great. There were just some particular creative choices that, they're not my cup of tea. But all in all, the fight scenes were incredible.
Speaking of flight, the signature GoPro, very controversial choice for flight scenes.
Yeah.
Seen before in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Ah, yes.
What are we thinking?
So look, it's not my favorite, right? Like, look, I'm not gonna lie. I am more of a fan of the classical, like form of flight motion. Like I said, Superman Returns is my favorite Superman movie. I absolutely love Man of Steel 2. There were some great flights. But I think like the use of CGI, the ability of CGI has sort of, warped our minds towards like, okay, let's try to film the most incredible, visually striking form of flying. And it's just a creative decision that James Gunn did for the GoPro style. But I just felt like it doesn't demonstrate speed. It doesn't demonstrate even flight as much because it's like a camera view that's going all around. And Denis Villeneuve once said that he likes the use of CGI, but also likes to retain the sort of natural way that camera works. So he said like, even though he gets to use CGI and whatnot, he'll never stray away from the limitations that cameras give. So like, let's say for a flying shot, if a camera wouldn't be able to just go around you as you're flying. So like, not that it has to be stagnant or whatnot, but it just has to give a little sense of realism, you know, for it to seem a bit real. So for me, I didn't like too much the GoPro style, but it's also not the end of the world. Like, it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the flight. It doesn't mean it wasn't well made too, because it's clear, hey, it was intention. It was, you know, a lot of time spent on it. And, you know, and also I will say that the close-up face, a lot of people don't like that aspect. I don't mind the close-up of the face. It's just the motion of the camera for me.
So I'm seeing a lot of a big through line of creative choices that are respected by you, but some are just not enjoyed.
Exactly, 100%. They're not enjoyed, you know, just because, you know, each director has their own sauce, and I respect that. And, you know, sometimes it goes movie by movie, right? Sometimes they want to experiment, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with watching something and saying, wow, you did a great job at this. However, it's not to my liking. But it doesn't mean I hate it. And respectively as well, too, you see that he paid homage to the two previous Superman movies before. He obviously, I've been mentioning Superman Returns a lot, but there was a couple slow motion scenes where he was giving a nod to Zack Snyder, because a lot of people forget these two are friends. They started their careers together. They're like, you know, Zack Snyder's like first or second movie was written by James Gunn, and they've only showed support for each other. The whole war is between the fandoms, right? You know, so I think that was his way of saying, hey, look, a lot of people didn't like Zack Snyder's slow motion. Here's a nod to it. You know, that's his friend. And even David Cornswet, you know, he only said good things about Henry Cavill and the Man of Steel. So I think, you know, there was a lot of creative choices I didn't like, but there's a lot of creative choices that I did enjoy and I respected, you know?
Well, you brought it up, not I, but for the record,
Yes.
how are we perceiving the reactions of the Snyder?
I'll say this. First off, the fans, like the Zack Snyder fans are on every single social media post about Superman, and they are going, it's OD, you know what I mean? It's OD. I believe that Zack Snyder will give a statement. He's going to praise the movie as he's always done. It's James Gunn, you know what I mean? He's never said anything bad about James Gunn. But, you know, the clash of the fandom is there, and it's stronger than ever, and it's unfortunate. So that aspect of the reception is unfortunate. However, I will say, like, I've only mainly seen like positive reviews from like most people, even like non-DC fans and whatnot. Like the casual viewer who has gone and seen it, like they enjoy it. You know what I mean? They're not gonna say it's the greatest movie of all time, but they say it's a good action movie. It's a good superhero movie, because we haven't had a good superhero movie in a long time, bar Thunderbolts, because obviously that's very recent. But before that, like, we were lacking on a good superhero movie, and you know, it's giving us that feel again. So yeah, but that's my comment on the reception. You know, L Snyder fans, and I'm a Snyder fan, you know.
To elaborate on the reception, I see the word hope almost jumping off your tongue. Pause.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, is there hope for superhero movies? Did that show us that superhero movies can be good, deep, profound at a certain level, and masterfully crafted with a creative vision?
Of course. I mean, I'd say yes. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm already a fan of Superman, but I'd say yes in a sense. The movie showed death, of course, but it showed like potential for more depth, right? It showed potential for a larger story. It showed potential for more character growth for I'd say most of the main cast and the supporting, like the main supporting characters. So it definitely gave a lot of potential, or it demonstrated a lot of potential for you know, more development on every aspect. However, what needs to remain is consistency across the board. So obviously, you know, I mentioned Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts was a great watch. If you haven't seen Thunderbolts and you're a Marvel fan, go see it. I know it's lesser known characters, but go see it. You know, but the thing is, we'll have to see with Fantastic Four as well, because it's sort of like a group thing. Like DC can be good on its own, and Marvel can be good on its own. It needs to be a sort of consistency of quality for people to sort of get their faith back, because it's been destroyed. You know what I mean? TV shows, movies, like, you know, they sort of destroyed the love that we had for superhero movies that was present maybe 10 years ago. But I do believe there's still potential. I won't say that this was a mark of the highest quality though. Like, you know, the Batman movie, that was peak level in the sense, like, I believe the average cinephile would watch the Batman and say, whoa, this was great. I'd say the average like cinephile would watch Superman and they'd enjoy it because it's great action, great story, you know, it's great fun. However, like, I won't say it's like the pinnacle of depth or character development. There's a lot more that needs to be done. Yeah.
In that case, one last derailment in terms of the creative aspect, and we'll come back to the plot later. Written by James Gunn, directed by James Gunn, produced by James Gunn.
That's crazy.
Is it time to enter James Gunn into the auteur conversation for superhero media?
I definitely think so, because I think that was his intention. You know what I mean? In a sense, he's head of the of DC. You know what I mean? Of Warner Brothers for the DC universe. So it's 100% like his creative vision for an entire universe. And then, of course, not just directing it, but like you said, to producing it as well. That's a huge feat to do. You know what I mean? So I definitely think, you know, he's moving into the auteur direction. And just like they did with Man of Steel, you know, they made comics out of Man of Steel. It's a given. There's already variant covers for the new Superman comic books based off of David Cornsweet, but they're going to do comics on this Superman. You know what I mean? Supergirl is coming next year. They're going to do comics on Supergirl. You know what I mean? Green Lantern is coming next year, like this TV series. They're going to do comics on it. So I definitely think like he will become, his vision will become a full-on, like, how would I say, not series, but, you know, on some real auteur shit. You know what I mean? So absolutely. And I think he would agree as well.
In terms of choices, what do we think about the colors? And more controversial question is, what do we think about the dog?
The dog. So look, spoiler alert, Crypto in this verse is Supergirl's dog, right? You know what I mean? So that's his cousin dog. You know, Crypto comes from Krypton, like with Supergirl. So we'll have to see the plotline he decides for her. But I love Crypto in a sense, like, he's great. He was a great addition. Like, you know, like, I don't know, like, Crypto is a fun character. I did like the little John Wick play as well too that they did in this movie, like, where's my dog? You know, like, so I definitely think he was a great addition to the movie in this movie specifically. If he has to be, like, I don't want Crypto to be a main character. Like, you know, like James Gunn said his inspiration was his own dog, so, you know, I respect that. But like, if you're creating a universe, you know, like the DC universe has so many central figures. We're gonna talk about the Justice League and all of that. Like, you can't give a spot like you know, like, you can't give Crypto more shine than Martian Manhunter. And last DC we didn't have Martian Manhunter. You know what I mean? So I think you'll have to be very careful with how much place he gives to Crypto. But Crypto was a great addition to this movie specifically. But in terms of colors and just like creative decisions in terms of plot and whatnot, I think it was super interesting. The colors were super vibrant. You know, a lot of people are a bit upset because we've been used to a darker theme, like a darker version of Superman for like the past like 20 years. Even Superman Returns was dark. Like the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeves was very bright, but after that it went, like, the color palette started shifting more towards dark. And I think that's a Batman influence. Batman is the most popular or most known, like, you know, comic book character after Superman, even more than Superman in modern times, I'd say. So like, I think he had an influence on the darker tones that we've been used to, but I love the vibrance. You know, James Gunn based a lot of the story on All-Star Superman, which is a dark theme like story in terms of like the plot, but visually it's a visually vibrant blue. It's you know, he has a white suit in that too. It's like, it's a very light, colorful like, you know, colorway, but I think the goal is to eventually contrast that with darker, more serious and sadder themes. So but I absolutely love the creative direction in terms of the color palette.
And let's close on the theme. One of my last questions. Big allegory, almost glaring in your face, plot-wise. The conflict in the fictional countries is hitting too close to the real world. What's our opinion on that?
I think that was 100% intentional, and we might have to blurt out the word, but like, it's clear if you are a Israel supporter, you're not gonna enjoy this movie. I'm sorry, like if you are, I'm not gonna say the Z word, but like because YouTube, but like you know what I mean. If you are Israeli supporter, you're not gonna enjoy this movie because it's clear as day. Like there's no ambiguity on what this story is talking about. You know what I mean? And I really love the idea of like putting Superman in a modern context, like, and not just Superman, the idea of like superheroes, right? It's like, okay, how would we react to superheroes in our modern society? What are their constraints? And it's clear as day, like, if in a situation where a country is invading another country that's way weaker, like, you know what I mean, in terms of arsenal and whatnot, Superman would absolutely intervene. You know, it's like, it's a given. Like, that's what he's done continuously throughout the past 100 years. However, of course, a lot of people don't like that idea. Same thing for the idea, I've seen like people are upset that James Gunn said that Superman's an immigrant. Like, well, like how is that? Like, have you never like?
Isn't that objectively true?
That's the plot. That's the story. You know what I mean? Like he's always been. He literally entered the country illegally. You know, and it's always a plot line that Ma and Pa Kent. If you've seen Smallville, like you know, that's the literally beginning. Like the Ma and Pa Kent are literally saying they're like, okay, like we're gonna have to falsify his information. Like you know what I mean? Like it's a given, and it's like Superman has always been political. So to me, I absolutely love the underlying theme behind this. It's not even underlying, the obvious theme behind this. You know, I do love the general idea of like, okay, questioning how would superheroes interact with our modern day? Because you know, Lois Lane really brought up some good points. Like if we had an American superhero that sort of like was mainly in the U.S., him intervening in a different country would absolutely cause like ripple effects on the geopolitical scale, you know? So I think that was super interesting. And even the theme, like the theme or like the question of like, okay, well, can a superhero act upon their own morality based off of their own ideas of how the world should be? Because if you're somebody with more power, aren't you in a way sort of mimicking countries with more powers, you know, interacting or like, you know, interrupting another sovereign entity? If a superhero, like, you know, intervenes, well, it's because you have the might to intervene and the other person doesn't. So in a way, it's like a parallel of both things, you know, and like Superman had to ask himself the question, like, well, you know, is he doing the right thing by intervening? You know, should he actually listen or watch the constraints of the world? And you see the other superheroes also sort of being confronted with that question. And I think it's going to be a theme that's going to grow more and more. And there was a theme in Creature Commandos, which was, look, I'm not going to say you have to watch every DC project to understand Superman, but watching Creature Commandos before watching Superman is going to, like, not that it helps, but like it sets a little bit of context, but it also, like, you see the clear vision that James Gunn has. Like our superheroes, the Justice League, will have to continuously sort of answer to the world government and say what we're doing is right, and they're going to be challenged nonstop, because that's what happened in Creature Commandos. You know, they were given a mission. You know, they're considered, you know, it's a Suicide Squad, so they're given like how would I say? They're frowned upon because they're criminals or so-called criminals, but they were put in a position where, well, we have to intervene, and they chose to intervene, and it went to hell. You know what I mean? Unlike Superman, which ended up causing the problem that Superman had to resolve, but Superman ended up intervening. Same thing with Guy Gardner, the rest of the Justice Squad or whatever, and it was hilarious. That's one thing I'll say too. We didn't talk about it. Like the best supporting characters, like, first of all, I'm happy to see that Hollywood is finally paying respect to Nathan Fillion, because he deserves it. He's a great actor of our childhood, and him playing a Green Lantern is great. I love the Engineer. Engineer, I believe, is gonna be like Catwoman. She's borderline not evil. She's borderline, you know, always with the villains, but she turns around. You know, I really hope she becomes like a good, like goes on the good side. Metamorpho, I was so sure Metamorpho was gonna be used by Lex Luthor to fight Superman. I'm happy off rip they showed his morality, because he's a very conflicted character, you know, so that was beautiful to see. Mr. Terrific. First off, we love to see a great black actor. We love to see a breakout black actor. This is a breakout role, you know what I mean? Shout out to Eddie. You know, I'm definitely gonna go peep whatever he's done beforehand, but he's gonna be a central theme, you know, like you know, a central character for the DCU. It's clear as day. He's gonna be the brains of everything, so I can't wait to see him interact with Batman. And yeah, just the supporting cast has been so great.
Hell of a breakout role.
Hell yeah, hell of a breakout role. Shout out to Hawk Girl too. You know, she's in Peacemaker. You know, she's here too. I want to see Hawkman, James Gunn. I want to see Hawkman, but yeah, we love it. My fault. WYAP.
Amazing. Well, if you could rate it now.
Okay, this is a first review rate. right? Like I saw this like what, literally less than 12 hours ago, right? It was like 10:38, less than 12 hours ago. I'd say off of initial watch, as a non-Superman fan, like as in like if I was just a regular, like, I'm gonna go enjoy it. It was a great watch. I'd say it was a good anywhere between 7.5 to 8 for a regular watcher. As a Superman fan, just like putting it against the other Superman projects and my expectations, it was easily between, and I hate being a decimal guy, but like a 8.5. Between 8.5, between 8.7. I wouldn't go like 8.9 or even 9, just because again, this was a first stepping stone. There's a lot more that needs to be developed. I hope there's a lot more that gets developed. And it was an introduction. And I forgot to mention too, we didn't even mention Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult, we talked about Nosferatu when he came out. Nicholas Hoult is an incredible actor. There were some choices though where like, they kind of made his like, how would I say, his reasons for his dislike for Superman too obvious. Like, I usually like to see it sort of work through, but I think he did a great performance. So hopefully we can see more Lex Luthor. But yeah, there's more to be said. There's more to be done in Superman. So I won't go at the 9. I don't think I'll ever go at the 9 for this movie. But it was a great first movie. James Gunn, we need some more development, and don't make the mistake of putting Superman only in Superman movies. We need to see him in Supergirl. We need to see him in Green Lantern. We need to see him, but look, we need to talk about Green Lanterns. We need to do a video on Green Lanterns. I don't know what's going on. There's 3 Green Lanterns on Earth. That's never been done. But yeah, so I'd say as a Superman fan, 8.5. As a regular watcher, probably 8. But I'd be fair if anybody says between 7.5 and 8.
A hard character to adapt on screen nonetheless. We've been the Daily Planet with Conti, exclusive first impressions Superman interview. And we'll see you again.
Wait, off the record. Do I look good?
You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you. W, back on the record.